If you want to speak and communicate better, then you're in the right place, because to speak better, you need to understand your voice. A lot of people, they focus on what they are saying, what words to use and how to structure their sentences, but they don't actually focus on how the voice is producing sound, and that is a problem. Have you seen a person trying to play the violin for the first time? It sounds horrendous, and that's because they don't know how to hold the violin, they don't know where to position their fingers, and they don't know how to use the bow. So it wouldn't sound nice when you try and play it for the first time. You're not going to get great sound out of it, and that is exactly the same with your voice. Hi, my name is Emily. I'm a voice and communications coach, and I help people just like you to be able to speak with more confidence, with more clarity and with more purpose. Today's video is about me explaining to you how the voice works, so you can take that knowledge and improve the way you speak. Whether you are preparing for a presentation, thinking about speaking confidently in front of others, or you just want to make sure that you sound more authoritative at work. Let's start with the basics. We have to build up an image of what actually happens inside of our body when we speak. I've already described using the voice like playing the violin, but I normally describe it similar to a piano. If you know how to use the piano, you know what keys are on the piano. If you know how to use the left hand and right hand to play the piano, then you're able to create chords and then play a melody. The first step is understanding the instruments that we have. It may be a violin, it may be a piano, but once we've established it, we can then understand how it works. So in order to know how a voice works, let's look at our neck first. At the front here, this is your larynx. Your larynx is quite small in comparison to other parts of your body. It's only 4 to 5 centimeters. That's about 2 inches. Your larynx is connected to your trachea, which is the windpipe, in order for you to breathe. And the front part of your larynx will be different depending if you're a guy or a girl, because when you're a guy, you'll have the Adam's apple right here. If we take a closer look at your larynx, if we strip away the skin, your larynx is made up of lots of different cartilages and ligaments. Sometimes you hear the larynx being called a voice box, and that's because the larynx is a shield to protect the vocal folds inside. And inside the larynx, this is where your vocal folds sit, or for my American friends, you call them vocal cords. Vocal folds and vocal cords are exactly the same thing. And your vocal folds are the things you need to be able to produce sound, and they create vibration coming from here. Your vocal folds are very small, they're the size of your pinky fingernail. And if we have a closer look, this is what your vocal folds actually look like on the inside. This picture is taken by putting a camera through a person's throat. It's a bird's eye view of what you can see from the top of your head going down through your throat. Around the outside here, where all of the pink bits are, all of this is muscle. And the white strips that you can see here, that is your vocal fold. Without me being too scientific, the white bits are actually bits of tissue that have a moist lining on the outside. And when the vocal folds are apart, there's a gap in the middle, and that's where the air comes through when you're breathing. But when you are speaking, the air is being pushed through the vocal folds at a rate of 100 times to 200 times per second. And to be able to speak, the two white bits come together, they contract, and they overlap one another. And when they overlap, this is what causes the vibration in your throat.
Hello. Hello.
And obviously this image is not to scale. In fact, for men, on average, your vocal fold length is only 2 centimeters, and for women, it's around 1.5 centimeters. And this is why men have deeper voices, because they have longer vocal folds. And ladies, if you want to have a deeper sounding voice, then you can. Even though you can't lengthen your vocal folds, there are lots of different vocal exercises you can do to make your voice lower in pitch. But this is why everybody's voice sounds different, because of the size of the larynx, because of the length of the vocal folds, and then on top of that you've got accent and language as well. And here's a fun fact. In your neck there is more than just the larynx. You also have the esophagus, where your food and drink goes down into the stomach. Now when you're choking, the food doesn't go down your esophagus like it normally should do. In fact, it's going down your windpipe, which is very, very dangerous. Now when you hear the saying, "It's gone down the wrong way," it literally has gone down the wrong way. Moving on. Let's talk a little bit more about your vocal folds, because your vocal folds and how they overlap is very, very important in how you create sound. When you have a quiet voice, your vocal folds isn't filtering the air properly. Imagine allowing your 2 fingers to just touch together. The amount of concentration that you need to just make your 2 fingers touch is incredibly difficult. When your vocal folds just touch together, there is very little air pressure, but your muscles are working extremely hard to contract so that your vocal folds are precisely meeting at that specific point. And when you shout, there is too much air pressure for your vocal folds to handle. Instead of your vocal folds smoothly overlapping each other, the air is bursting through the vocal folds. And this is why you get vocal cracks like this.
My voice cracks a lot, but everything will be all right.
And if you shout too much, then your muscles won't work. Your muscles will get tired, your vocal folds won't be able to overlap, and when your vocal folds don't overlap, it means you won't be able to talk. And this naturally leads us on to looking after our voices. When you're ill, when you have a cold, your voice naturally sounds a lot deeper. It may sound hoarse, and that's because it's due to probably a viral infection, or there's lots of mucus that is irritating your vocal folds, or your muscles around your neck is swollen. And when you are ill, just rest your voice. Don't talk, not even a whisper. Because remember when I talked about having a quiet voice? When you're whispering, you're doing exactly the same thing. You're asking the muscles to contract, but when you're ill, your neck is already swollen. So to be able to ask it and force it to contract, you're just going to lose your voice more. So don't do it. Don't do it! So avoid talking completely. Make sure you drink lots of water to stay hydrated. And if you want to, you can use a steamer or a humidifier to keep your vocal folds nice and moist. This way, your larynx will naturally start to heal and the swelling in the muscles will start to go down. But it is very hard to stop talking completely because of work, because you have to communicate with lots of different people all the time throughout the day. And some people tend to use things like steroids. Now, if you use vocal steroids, it's not necessarily a bad thing. However, this is a very short-term solution because you don't want to be using it in the long run. What vocal steroids do, it numbs the pain around your muscles, allowing the muscles to contract so your vocal folds can overlap each other. But it's best not to use them at all and allow the muscles to just heal on its own. And if you happen to eat any of these lozenges, then just remember where it goes. Yes, that's right, it goes down your esophagus. So it's really debatable whether throat lozenges actually work and how effective they may be. Some throat lozenges do actually have some anti-inflammatory ingredients, and some are more natural than others. But having a throat lozenge, it does its job when you have the lozenge in your mouth. Once it goes down through the esophagus into your stomach, then it will take a lot longer for the anti-inflammatory ingredients to be sent across your body where it needs to go. If your throat becomes overused, so constant talking, constant shouting, then not only will your voice become tired and the vocal folds not work, you may also develop something called vocal nodules. Vocal nodules are tiny little bumps that sit on your vocal folds, and this means you won't be able to talk normally because of the lump being on your vocal folds and your vocal folds not being able to overlap properly. So then you'll have to go and see an ENT specialist, ear, nose and throat, and they will be able to diagnose and discuss whether you need vocal surgery. In fact, many celebrity singers such as Adele, Beyonce and Freddie Mercury, they've all had vocal surgery because they've used their voices a lot to sing. So resting your voice is key so it prevents long-term damage. I think this is why it's really important to listen to your body, because your voice isn't just in isolation, it's connected to everything in your body. Have you ever noticed that when you're exhausted, your voice doesn't sound like it normally does? It sounds weaker, it sounds raspier, and that's because your voice needs that support from the body. All of the muscles that are in the neck is connected to other parts of the body. And when the body is tired, your voice will sound tired as well. And this is something that a lot of people don't know, and this surprises a lot of people. So we talked about the vocal folds being the wet tissue with that moist lining around it. That white part of your vocal folds doesn't actually have any nerves, so it can't feel any pain. It doesn't feel pain like when you pinch yourself or when you strain a muscle during some exercise. And this is a problem because when you overuse your voice, you don't know that you've overused it until your vocal folds stop overlapping and they don't work. The only signs that you'll be able to tell if your neck is feeling sore, that the muscles around your neck is feeling fatigued, or you have that scratchy feeling inside of your throat. And this is why a lot of people lose their voice without realizing, because they'll keep on speaking and speaking, and before you know it, they've lost their voice, and by then it's too late. This actually happens with a lot of teachers, doctors, lawyers, anybody who talks on a constant basis. But there is a way for you to speak all day and not lose your voice, and that is a vocal warm-up. Imagine that you're running a marathon every single day. There is no doubt in your mind that you should warm up your body and eat nutritious food to prepare yourself for that run. And this is exactly the same for your voice. If you're going to be speaking all day, you need a vocal warm-up. As an actor, I know a lot about vocal warm-ups and how to use them to be able to talk effectively. And years down the line, when I worked as a supply teacher in schools, I noticed that a lot of teachers had this issue that they would get to lunchtime and they would lose their voice because they were talking too much, because they were shouting at the children too much, and their voices weren't prepared. If you speak all day, you have to monitor your energy levels. Think about every morning starting at 100%. And if you're not at 100% with your voice, you can use a little vocal warm-up to get yourself to 100%. If you don't do a vocal warm-up, you're going to get to zero a lot quicker, and your vocal folds won't be able to deal with the bursts of air pressure throughout the day. We want to ensure that when we speak, there is very little effort, that we have all of the keys on the piano, we're able to access the high notes and low notes, and when we don't speak, we're preserving that energy, or we're slowly topping that energy back up. If we sprint the first 5 miles of our marathon, we're not going to have enough energy for the rest of the marathon. And this is exactly what happens with our voices as well. We want to be able to speak and to be able to control that energy level. So every morning before you go to work or before you speak, you should do a quick vocal warm-up to get your voice ready. We have covered a lot today in terms of how the voice works, what the voice looks like inside, and how to use your voice more effectively. It's so important to listen to your body and do a vocal warm-up, which is why I've created a playlist called Speaking Exercises to help you be able to get your body ready, your mind ready, and your voice ready. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you want to learn next.